Thank you very much for coming to this presentation. Let's begin. So about me, I am just a developer, not a speaker, and even less in English, but let's try it. So I live here in Madrid, but all my family is in Sevilla. So I am between the two cities. And well, that's my contact. And I'm working in Osoko, it's a company here in Madrid. We are sponsoring this conference, and we do a lot of Groovy and Java projects. Even sometimes we use Smalltalk, but not a lot. So we are going to, anyone don't know what is Grooscript? Well, just a few. Okay, Grooscript is just a library to convert your Groovy code to JavaScript. That's all. So it's an open source project. So please, I am the developer with a few helpers. But if you have any idea or any comment, or do you want to know something, go to GitHub, open an issue or improvement. I will be very happy with that. So it's just a tool, not a framework you can use when you want. Maybe for a few tasks in your application, maybe it's just opinionated. You don't have to use just the things that you want. And apart from working with Grails, works with any other Java framework as Spring Boot or Ratpack or any other framework. And the last version is 1.2.3. So like Grails 3 is now working on top of Gradle, we can use the Gradle plugin of Grooscript. Grooscript has two plugins, one for Gradle and one for Grails. And so in your Grails 3 application, you can use both. So first, let's see what the Gradle plugin does. Just like it's a 15-minute session, we are just taking a few of the features, not very in depth. So the Gradle plugin is mainly for convert your Groovy files to JavaScript. So this is the last version, and this is a more detailed explication of the task. So let's see. For example, if you want to convert files from Groovy to JavaScript, just use the task for that. And here I'm using this because if you are running your Grails application, you want to convert that file 2 times. Well, more than 2 times. Just the time when the apps go up, and if you change something in your Groovy file, you want to generate the JavaScript file again and again and again. Because you are in develop mode, you can change files, you can do changes in all your Groovy code, and you want your JavaScript files generated are according to the Groovy code. So there is a thread running in the background converting that file for you. So you can use a Gradle extension or just create as many tasks as you want to convert files. There are many options for conversions, just a few. Also, apart from convert your Groovy code, you can convert your Groovy markup templates. If you want to use Groovy markup templates, you can use, and you can convert that template to a JavaScript file. This is what this task does. Sadly, your Groovy markup templates doesn't work with grender. I don't know the reason. You can use Groovy markup template in a controller to return the full response with that template, but you can't use for just a fragment of a template. Here is an example. I have a template, and here is how I use it. You see, it's a Groovy DSL, nothing special, and this is how I use that. This is Groovy code, but we will see later. Just I put this in an annotation in your GSP files, and that will be converted to JavaScript. So you really don't have to write any line of JavaScript. Just with Groovy, you can do this work. Also, there is another interesting task, because you can spy changes in your files. For example, you want to spy changes in the CSS, and when a change happens, you want to do something. In this case, I am open a Spring WebSocket connection to this. We will see this later. Is a controller that is listening to that. So the controller will be listening to that. If you change something in your file, that will reload. What we will see later. So this is another feature with the Gradle plugin. So I have been very fast. So we have seen a Gradle plugin that is just for conversion, and the Grails free plugin do the work in the GSPs. It's mostly some tags that are added to your GSPs. The last version is 1.2.2. So for set up the plugin, just we have to add Grooscript / Grails JS, and for a few tasks I am using jQuery. So you have to add, depending on the task you have to use or not. I use a lot the asset pipeline plugin. I think it's the default in Grails free, so no problem. You don't have to do nothing. So just with adding that, you can use the tags that Grooscript provides. So here is an example. The first one is I am using a generated JavaScript file. What I did with the Gradle plugin, for example. So I add that file to that JavaScript file, and later I can use that. The only thing that you have to know about Grooscript is that the Groovy code that you put has to compile. So if I put this and I don't add the import, will fail because it will not find the hello class. So you have to import. So this tag, what it does is convert that code to JavaScript and insert it in your GSP. So that code will run in the client side, not in the server side. All the conversions are cached, so the first maybe can be slow, but later times is very fast. Here is another example. As you see, it's Groovy code that will run in your client side. Also, there is a little DSL that you can use to put HTML code in your GSP. So there are a few more options with this tag. We will see later, but just is Groovy is a DSL. Also, I'm supporting Websockets, but the support is you have to add the server support if you want to do. I don't add web server support because you can use the Spring WebSocket plugin, or maybe you want to use the ability of Spring Boot to use WebSockets. So whatever, in this case I am using this plugin that is pretty good. And this is what I saw before about I am listening the reload path to send to all the clients listening to this message to send that. So when receive the message, send to all the clients. So a feature with all that is that you can just, with this tag, you can reload the page when something comes in this WebSocket channel. So just with this annotation, you maybe are listening to something, and if something changes, your page automatic reload. So apart from that reload, you can work with the channel of the WebSockets. You can init the connection. You can listen into message in the channels. Here you can see a template tag that do more things. For example, here is a function that do something in the body. As you see, it's all Groovy code. It's nothing magic. Also, a feature is that you can use your domain classes with the add resource annotation, because maybe with that annotation, Grails offers you the ability to get data from JSON calls. It only supports JSON, not XML. And for example, for this domain class, here is an example using that. It's using a feature pattern, because, for example, at the top, you can see I do book dot list, and then it's a synchronous call, and in the return, I do something. It's just a few examples of things you can do. As usual, it's Groovy code. And the last feature I have added to Grooscript is the ability of create web components. It's using the standard of web components, and you can use that components like the JavaScript standard. How to do that in Groovy? We see here, it's just a class that you can define a style. Maybe you want to render after something happens, because what the component does is the render method is timed when the component draw, and later if you want to render again, is the, for example, this, you see the component on the left, I click on plus, so I increment the counter, so I redraw again and again. So this, you don't have to add any annotation or nothing, just it's a Groovy class. And okay, and that's all. There are a lot of more features on Grooscript, but 50 minutes is enough pain for you, for my English. So there are some links. The homepage, documentation, GitHub, some nice demos using Grails or Smiley Node.js or a static page, the Gradle plugin, the Grails plugin, and this is a demo that is using both plugins. And this is my contact information. And that's all. Any questions?
How does the naming work? The JavaScript.
Sorry?
Can you mix normal JavaScript and JavaScript generated by?
Yes. I am generating JavaScript code that you can use with.
Is it obfuscated or it's like?
No, you can understand. It's not very complex, but it's a code that doesn't run itself. It needs the Grooscript.js library. Here I am adding a library that is able to understand that generated code. But there are JavaScript functions. It's nothing special. You can debug.
You have, for example, like a link with on click, and you want to call a JavaScript function.
Yeah.
Can you call a Grooscript generated JavaScript function?
Yes. Even in your Groovy code, you can put JavaScript code with, like a comment. You can insert JavaScript code in your. Yes, you can mix both. Even if you can call from JavaScript to Grooscript and the other side.
How about this?
It's Groovy. It's the mainly thing is that you test in Spock, but for the client side, well, it's like any other JavaScript file. You can follow the sentences. It's nothing special. Any more questions? Okay, thank you.